for that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. All right. Now let me go back to the chat. And if you don't mind, if one or two of y'all could just type in the chat a thumbs up or that you can hear me, I would really appreciate it. I just want to make sure this is working. Perfect. Thank you. It's good to see you, Deborah. All right. I don't think I can do the chats while I am in full screen. So I'm gonna have to, sorry guys. It's right, the chat is like right in the front of what I'm trying to see and do. So I'm assuming if somebody tries to get in, it will pop up and let me know. We shall see, I guess. But if you're not here in time, I guess you don't get to. Right. So here we go. We'll see what happens. All right. I'm so glad that you are here. It's been about a year since I've done one of these workshops, and I usually focus on kitchen and baths. But today, I want to just get back to basics. Just decorating 101 is what I call it. And I will tell you what kind of prompted me to do this was I like looking at Zillow, even though I'm not looking to buy a house. I like looking at Zillow. And I am always amazed by the decorating mistakes that I see on Zillow. And I kind of started thinking, you know what? I shouldn't be judgy because a lot of people just don't know. They just don't know what size rug to do or how, to hang pictures and all of just kind of the basic things. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go over and I picked kind of my five top reasons or the issues that people have with decorating. So let's just start with them, okay? So the first one is, let's see how that's going to work. This is always so fun. Okay, I guess we have to start about me. So if you don't know, I'm Jennifer Taylor and I'm a designer. I've been a designer for like 30 something years. And okay, good. I'm seeing when people are coming in. I feel like I have seen it all, done it all, but every project that I work on brings a new challenge, which of course I love solving. And I love doing that for my clients. So I look forward to sharing what I have know with you today. And again, it's just going to be some of the basics. All right, choosing paint colors. Now, these images at the top are from my actual house. So we built a house and moved in February. I'm sitting in my dining room right now. And I will tell you, even though I have over 30 years experience, choosing the paint colors was really hard for me. My biggest piece of advice is to never pick a paint color at the paint store and never really pick a paint color off of one of those little tiny paint chips. The lighting, the finishes in your home can totally transform the color. I also highly, highly recommend doing samples. If you can't paint directly onto the wall, then go buy some poster board and cut it into like four pieces and paint on the poster board and then move that all around. I think there are I think Sherwin-Williams and even Benjamin Moore might offer those stick-on samples that you can order that are like little adhesive, like big stickers. But painting the actual paint on a poster board is a little bit better than those printed samples, I will tell you. So take your time and do it right the very first time. It's super, super important. But I want to also talk to you about how I pick paint colors, okay? So normally what I do is I will kind of pick a main neutral color that you kind of paint in the main areas of your house. And so I'm just going to keep referring to my house because I'm here and I'm looking around and I can kind of, I've just been through it. So we picked a main neutral color that went in the main rooms of our house. So it's in our family room, it's in my kitchen, it goes down the hallway, it goes into down the hallway. So it's kind of what I call the main neutral, and that's the most important color in my opinion. Sometimes if you've got a foyer and you've got a staircase, it has to kind of go up the stairs, and you've got to really love that color. But sometimes you just are like, I don't want to do that same color in my entire house. So one of the tips is that when you go to the paint store, and I recommend going to a paint store instead of a big box store, they will have these paint decks, those fan decks. And if you can score one of those, it's even better. But the paint decks are really helpful because if you can find the color, the main neutral color that you really like on the paint deck, then usually, most of the time on that strip will show you a color above it and below it that might be darker or lighter. And I will always recommend if you're unsure, then just go one shade, up to go lighter and go one shade down to go darker and maybe paint your bedroom or bathroom or the guest bedroom, one of those neutrals so that you still have that neutral color, but it's not the same color and it gives you a little bit of interest. And that same advice goes for like colors. So like over here, you can see someone took blue. This is not my picture, and did, this is kind of the medium tone, and then this is one shade darker, and this is one shade lighter. And so it's really nice to kind of take that family of color and then use that in different areas of your house so that you've got a consistent color and not every color room is a different color, but it's a slight variation. So it feels it's a little less overwhelming of you not feeling like you have to pick a lot of different colors, but it's a good way to kind of stay within the tone of the color. And usually that on the chip will be like a succession of numbers as well. So if you've got like 2027, then 2026 is the lighter, and then 2028 is the darker. So, and sometimes at the paint store, I don't spend a lot of time on those racks where all the chips are. They'll kind of have them arranged that way too. So that's my little bit of advice about picking paint colors. Also, don't be afraid of color. In my home, we did green kitchen cabinets, and then I matched that green and painted my laundry room the green. And then in the our master bedroom and our guest bedroom, we did one shade lighter of the neutral color on the walls in there. And then I did wallpaper in the guest bath because I love wallpaper. And in the hallway, and our back entryway, I'm eventually going to do wallpaper. So add some wallpaper if you so dare. All right, let's go to the next because I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. I am going to be open for questions if we have time here at the end. Okay. So the next thing is hanging art the right way. This is probably one of the biggest things that I see that a lot of people don't really grasp and understand because most of the time, the man in your life is hanging the art for you and they tend to hang it at their eye level, which is taller than most. I like to hang it at my eye level because I'm 5'8", so it's a little bit shorter, but the middle of your art should be about 60 inches from the floor to the middle of your art. So 5 feet is about my eye. Maybe it's a little lower, but kind of use that as a guide when you're if you're around that height, you can hold it up, but just go up with a tape measure, put a little tick mark at 60, and then try to center the art in that 60 inches. Now, if you're in a room where you're standing around a lot, it could be a little bit higher. And in a sitting room, it could be a little bit lower. These are two photos of projects that I have worked on, but I want to talk about the photo on the left with the mirror. This is from a sorority house project that I did last year, and this mirror was already existing when I was asked to do the project. And I wanted to move that mirror down so bad because to me, it's just too high above that console. But that was grass cloth wallpaper. And when we took it down to move it, it would have left a huge hole that we just didn't want to deal with. So for the photographs, I was able to kind of put some larger accessories, but that's the challenge. If something is too high above a piece of furniture as well, then feel like you have to fill in that space. So I would say above a piece of furniture, 8, 9, 10 inches, just kind of depending on the size of the piece and the size of the furniture. But just remember, if it's lower, you don't have to fill in all that empty space that's there between the tabletop, and the piece of art or mirror that you have going. And then this is a bedroom that we did, and you can see it's low. But I didn't want the art piece to be mounted above the trim of the window, and so it was a big piece of art that the client had. So we just made sure to make it above those chairs, but below the top of that window. All right, here are a few other examples of art. Another great way to fill a large wall is to do two large pieces of art. There's a website called art.com that I've used a lot that sells a lot of prints, and you can get them in multiple sizes. And minted.com is also a great resource for more unique prints and pieces of art. It's like they get local artists to come in and they kind of design them, and I think the artist gets a little kickback for everything that they sell. But I've used that for my own personal home. But again, for larger walls, you need bigger pieces of art. Large walls, large art, small walls, small art. And then the photo on the left is a dining room, and that piece of art the client hung. We came back for photos later, and he had already hung that. It was something that he had. And again, I feel like it's a little bit too high. I would have probably lowered that just a few inches. But again, large piece of art over a large cabinet. You really want that the what you're hanging is in relation proportionately to what's below it. And if nothing is below it, then take into consideration the size of the wall. All right, my next thing I want to talk about is overmatching. And you don't have to buy a matching set when you go into a furniture store because you don't want your home to look like a furniture store. And I get it when you walk in and you kind of see everything kind of set up and the dresser matches the bed, matches the nightstands, or all the couches are the same, or they have like a group deal. If you buy all these pieces, you get a better price. But I really highly recommend that if you want your room to feel a little bit more thoughtful, is to mix it up. Don't be afraid to use different types of wood together. And also say no to all brown leather furniture in your room. Now, I totally understand the brown leather furniture. I see it so many times when I go in people's houses. And if you're gonna do the brown leather furniture, then just do it in one piece and then get your other upholstery pieces in a fabric. And I see people doing it. Oh, I've got pets, I've got young kids, but there are lots of great furniture fabrics out there for furniture that are performance fabrics, they call them, and they're much easier to clean. So let's talk about some of the ideas that I have for bedrooms. So what I like to do is there's three kind of major components in a bedroom: a nightstand, a bed, and a dresser. And I like to match two of those three components. Ideally, it's nice to match the bed and the dresser because they're usually across from each other, or the nightstands and the dresser. Don't match all the pieces. So the photo on the left, you can kind of see we did a white wood bed, and then we found these nightstands that are kind of a driftwood with a mirror finish, and they look really nice together. The photo on the right is an upholstered headboard, and then we did wood nightstands, and then I ordered the matching dresser, which is across the room, so that we've got matching, but only two of the three major components match. When you go into a family room, the photo on the right is a big sectional, and you can see we kept the sectional very neutral, but we really wanted to bring in some color. And so we did that with two swivel chairs in that navy blue that turned out really great. They already had some blue in other parts of the house. And then, of course, with pillows and artwork, it kind of tied that all together. And the photo on the left of the more colorful room, we did two sofas in that room. Both sofas were very neutral. And then again, two chairs in that kind of really pretty teal. She wanted a really colorful rug, and that's where we started. And then some leather little footstools. So again, trying not to, it's not over the top. The main pieces of furniture are pretty neutral, but we brought in some different colors with the fabrics. And then also, it's hard to really tell in here, but the same with the tables. You can match. I usually will match again two tables. So if we have a coffee table and a matching like sofa table, but then the end table will be something different. And don't be afraid to bring in some metal pieces or glass. That also helps break up so everything doesn't feel brown and wood. Another thing that I think that a lot of people struggle with is mantle decor. And the one biggest drawback is a lot of people have their TVs over their fireplaces, and I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. So this one photo is a beach house that I helped design where of course, that's the big black TV. But you can kind of see I took some candlesticks on one end and then we did like a couple of vases on the other end and kind of balanced that. So it's not identical stuff, but it's a good balance. If you want to use a mirror above your fireplace, just make sure that it's reflecting something really pretty. Like in this photo, my clients had a really pretty chandelier, and so that was reflected. If you have just kind of like a basic ceiling fan or it's not reflecting something pretty, then use the mirror somewhere else and use a piece of art up there. You can also see what I did with hers. She had an orchid that we did on one side and then a pair of vases on the other. If you are, the most simple way of doing it though is to do a symmetrical look. Just get a pair of vases or a pair of somethings and put that on each side and then call it a day. That's the simplest way of doing it, but I like kind of mixing it up a little bit. I'm going to zoom in because I tested this before that I can hopefully, and this is showing zoomed in for you as well. This is a mantle that I did for a client that had a really low ceiling, and so there wasn't a lot of space above the mantle. And so what I did was is I did a lot of like short stuff across there, and we kind of layered. It was white behind that, and so you can kind of, I don't need to explain what you see there, but layering small stuff also helps if you can kind of take it all the way across. If that was a really large scale, that might not feel so that might feel too heavy, but in a short ceiling, it worked really well. Another trick that I have for mantles that okay, now I'm gonna that I've used in my own home and in clients' homes is going and finding vases that are all the same color but are different shapes and sizes. And then you group three or four on one side and, two or three on the other side. And so you've got kind of this match, but it's not a complete match. And I also like, because I used colorful artwork on both of those, the accessories, the vases don't compete with the artwork. The ones on the left came from Ballard Designs, and the one on the right, I ordered from one of my trade vendors, but those are all just white vases. If you can't find them where they're all exactly the same, but you can like go to Home Goods and just get like a lot of neutral kind of tan ones that are all the different, shapes and sizes, or blues, or just lighter colors and kind of group them. You can also use books. I use books to kind of adjust the height a little bit to give it a little bit more interest. And for the client on the left, we put in some white kind of feathery, what's it? It's not greenery, but it's kind of this dried straw, flowery stuff that was really pretty to give some more texture. So there's stuff there, but it's not fighting the colorful artwork. All right, and I think this might be the last thing. Rugs the right size. So all of these photographs are examples of what not to do. All your furniture should touch the rug. This includes your dining room, dining room chairs, bedrooms. The rug should go under the bed, and you should be able to see rug on all three sides. You just don't want it to feel like it's too tiny, and you don't want your guests to sit in a chair and pull the chair out, and then half of the chair is hanging off the rug, because if they want to scoot themselves up, the back of the chair leg is getting stuck on the rug. And also doing the rug under the bed gives the bed the statement. Instead of centering the rug in the room, you're centering the rug under the bed. Now, these images are not very clear, and I'm sorry, they're kind of fuzzy, but it's the best ones that I could get to kind of represent. For a dining room, what I use as a rule of thumb, if you want some kind of really, detailed guidelines, take the size of your table and add 24 inches on all sides. And that's how big your rug should be at least. So if you have a 6 foot long table, then you need 6 plus 2 plus 2, a 10-foot long rug. If you have a 7-foot table, which is very common, you need an 11-foot long rug. Now, it's hard to find an 8 by 11 rug, but it's possible. You just have to try it, and it's really worth it to have a rug that when you pull out your chairs, everybody is still on the rug. And in the bedroom, I like placing the rug like in this little graphic. I like pulling the rug up where it's almost to the nightstands. You've got about, 3 or 4 inches before it touches the nightstands. Now, sometimes you can't get a rug wide enough to go to the ends of the nightstands, but you want them to at least cover half of the nightstands, the front half of the nightstands. You don't want it to be too tiny. and then whatever's left kind of hangs out the end of the bed. I think this graphic is for a queen size bed, and then for a king size bed, you would probably need like a 9 by 12 rug. All right. So last but not least, I would love to stay in touch with you. If you signed up for this workshop, you are now on my mailing list and you will have access to my newsletters that I send out about every 2 weeks. And I'd love for you to email me if you've got more questions about my services. I offer virtual consultations where we kind of do this, but one-on-one. You talk to me about your design issues, and I can help you answer them as clearly and concisely as I possibly can. After this is over and I figure out how to put this in something that an email that I can share to you, I'm going to put some links to my different services that might be helpful to you. Because I understand a lot of people are DIY, they want to kind of handle some things on their own, but kind of have like to have like a designer on call that you can kind of call and be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I maybe like this rug, or I like this piece of art, or I'm not really sure how to hang it. I'll be happy to help you with that. All right, so I'm going to try to go back to our chat and see if anybody has any questions. I would love to answer them. If not, thank you so, so much. I was trying to keep this under 30 minutes, which I did. I hopefully this was good information for you. And I will, Deborah, I'd love to hear what's going on with your kitchen. You don't have to do that here, but I'll send you an email. I've been thinking about you. And everybody else that showed up, I do really appreciate you guys being here. And if you've got a question for me, you can just reply to the email that I send out. If you've got like a specific question, I'll be happy to give you a little bit of advice. Oh, good, 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 good. Okay. If your dining room is open to the living room, how do you coordinate the rugs? Okay, that is a really good question. Now it's telling me my internet is unstable. Okay, that is a really good question. I happen to be sitting in my dining room, which is open to my family room right here. And what I did is I went with a more solid looking rug in my family room, and then I did a more of a pattern rug in my dining room. It's not too patterny because of my wallpaper is kind of patterned, but my rug in here is kind of blues and greens and kind of cream color, kind of. And then I did a green, more of a green rug in here. So it is nice to coordinate them. Definitely don't match them. Sometimes people will, I'll just buy the two rugs and have them there. So maybe in the dining room, do something that's more patterned because dining rooms tend to be more brown because there's a lot of wood with dining room furniture. And then in your family room, pick one of the colors that's in the dining room rug and kind of take it into the family room. And then take that color with some pattern on pillows and stuff like that. So, that's really the best way that I can explain to you about coordinating. And another thing to keep in mind is if you go to a carpet store, if you've got like a really pretty rug and you don't want to spend a lot of money on a rug for your family room, you can go to a carpet store and find a really pretty carpet, broadloom they call it, and they can make you a rug to the size that you need, and then it's made out of like nylon, so it's really easy to clean. All right. So that's all I've got for y'all. Thanks again. Appreciate you being here. And I look forward to doing this again. It went by really fast. Bye.